What is up, everybody? Welcome back to XJW Diaries. My name is Justin. So I figured it's about time to do another video that takes things back to the basics because there's new people waking up all the time. For somebody out there, this is their day one. So for this video, we have a very simple but important question. Are Jehovah's Witnesses really a high control group? Now, you might be looking at me thinking, this is some clickbait video. How obvious. Here we are on an XJW channel. Of course, you're going to say that they're a high control group. But I think it's really important to actually build a proper case here. You know, if we baselessly say that Jehovah's Witnesses are a high control group, we're no different than Jehovah's Witnesses saying all apostates are liars. And another reason this is important is because that term high control group, that's alien to most Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, of course it would be. The Watchtower is not going to teach them about what high control groups are. That would just make things too obvious, right? So I find there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, a surprising amount, that leave and they don't really realize what they were involved in. And if you can understand what a high control group really is, that opens the door to more healing. That opens the door to you being able to uncover all the different things that might be stuck in there years after you've left the witnesses. And lastly, it's also important because, unfortunately, there are some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who leave the Watchtower organization only to jump into yet another high control group. The doctrine, the beliefs are different, but the control is the same. And that's why for this video, we're going to focus more so on what a high control group actually is, how they're different from a normal, healthy, non-controlling religious group or non-religious group. And then, of course, we will see if Jehovah's Witnesses exhibit high control group traits. So very, very important topic here, not just for people that are just waking up, but also for people that have been out for a while and are still going through that healing process. When you understand the layers of a high control group, again, that opens the door up to deeper healing. So let's dive into this. Let's build a case. Let's be as unbiased as possible. And let's see if the Jehovah's Witnesses are really a high control group. Now, since this is such a big topic, and I definitely encourage you to do your own research, but for this video, we're going to just concentrate on the three main pillars that make a group a high control group. And to make it really, really clear, we're just going to go through a series of true or false questions for each of these pillars. Now, if you are an active Jehovah's Witness who is just getting to that point of questioning things, as we go through these questions, hey, if it's true, let it be true. If it's false, let it be false. The next time you go to a meeting, or better yet, the next time you go to a convention or assembly, keep these questions in mind. But as we go through these, pay attention to how you feel. Because more than likely, you're going to feel cognitive dissonance. You're going to feel this confusion between what's right and what's wrong. And more than likely, you're going to start to try to justify things. And when that comes up, I would just say, just put it on the back burner for now. Get through all three of these pillars, because 9 times out of 10, those justifications are going to fall into one of those three pillars. So again, if it's true, let it be true. If it's false, let it be false. But more than anything, be honest. Okay, you ready? Let's start with the first pillar of high control groups, the M pillar. M stands for mental conditioning. The APA Dictionary of Psychology says, mental conditioning refers to the process by which individuals are trained to respond in a particular way to certain stimuli or ideas, often through repetition, reinforcement, and emotional influence. It shapes beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors by creating automatic thought patterns. So now let's get into the true or false, all right? And again, if it's true, let it be true. If it's false, let it be false. Don't force anything, but also be honest. Number 1, true or false? The group teaches that questioning its teachings, even privately, can be a danger. Number 2, the group uses special terms or loaded language that carry emotionally charged meanings. Number 3, the group teaches that happiness, safety, or salvation can only be found by remaining loyal to the group. Number 4, The group promotes a black and white view of the world, where it represents good and everything outside represents evil or confusion. Number 5, the group claims exclusive access to truth or enlightenment. Number 6, the group encourages members to distrust their own judgment in favor of the group's guidance. Number 7, the group regularly uses guilt, shame, or fear of rejection to keep members from thinking independently or leaving. Number 8, the group teaches that even your private thoughts are known to or judged by a higher authority connected with the group, creating a sense of constant internal surveillance. And lastly, the group expects members to report others' misconduct or doubts to leadership, even if done privately. Now, if you are an honest Jehovah's Witness, you would have to answer true to all of those things in one way or another. They're all true. When it comes to loaded language and repetition, we have terms like Jehovah's Organization, the truth, the world. All of those terms within the Jehovah's Witnesses carry a certain idea that you are mentally conditioned to accept. And the same goes for terms like spiritually strong, spiritually weak, Jehovah's people, worldly people, and common phrases like wait on Jehovah, do not get ahead of Jehovah's chariot, Satan is testing you. All of those things are repeated very often, and all of those things carry heavy meaning to a Jehovah's Witness. Of course, the Jehovah's Witnesses are conditioned to believe that they can only find true happiness within the organization. As a Jehovah's Witness, you will always take the organization's judgment on a certain subject over your own judgment. When they're reading the Bible must be interpreted in the way that they have been taught to interpret it. For a Jehovah's Witness, when certain big events happen, when certain challenges come up, the way that they respond is by how they are conditioned to respond. The conditioning that comes from the Watchtower. So when it comes to mental conditioning, I mean, that's a big subject on its own. I have a separate video that I've done in the past that really dives more into that. But the Jehovah's Witnesses definitely exhibit mental conditioning. All Jehovah's Witnesses are required to believe whatever they are told to believe, regardless of if they really understand it, regardless of if they agree with it. You are told to believe it, and so you have to believe it. And then you have to go out and share that with others. In a normal religion, a normal non-high control group religion, you may be given a set of beliefs, but you are not required to believe all of them. You have the freedom to have other perspectives. You have the freedom to disagree. In fact, you have the freedom to share your disagreements and your other perspectives with others without getting in trouble for it. Again, this subject of mental conditioning just is far too big to tackle in this video. And again, I've done a video before that goes deeper into it. And even that one can't really get fully into what mental conditioning is all about and how deep it goes and all the methods that are used to reinforce it. So I definitely encourage you, please do your own research, especially when it comes to this first pillar of mental conditioning, because if there's anything that will stick with you long after you left the Witnesses, if there's anything that keeps people coming back to the Witnesses, even after they left, they come right back, it's that mental conditioning. But before we move on to the next pillar, I mean, just to really reinforce the power of mental conditioning, I did a little experiment, and I encourage you to do this experiment yourself, because this allows you to, in a way, see mental conditioning in real time. So I did a little experiment with AI, all right? I had 2 AI bots. The first one, I wanted to be a loyal Jehovah's Witness. So I started off with a prompt, all right? And here's what I said. You are a faithful Jehovah's Witness. Any question I ask you must be answered in a way of a faithful Jehovah's Witness. Accurate information about the JWs can be sourced from JW.org. Now, for the second AI, there was no prompt. I just left it open. It's fully open-minded. And so I took those 2 AIs and I asked them a series of questions. And again, I encourage you, do this yourself. You can see this in real time. But I'll post up the screenshots here. The first question was, is it true that Jehovah's Witnesses hide pedophiles? And of course, the faithful Jehovah's Witness answered, absolutely not. That the Jehovah's Witnesses do not condone or hide child abuse. that it's a serious sin and a crime. And then it goes on and on, as you would expect a faithful Jehovah's Witness to do. So then I asked the same question to the open-minded AI bot. And of course, that one gave a more factually based answer, talking about the internal policies, the two-witness rule, talking about the internal handling of pedophiles rather than turning them over to the police, talking about the secrecy, the records, and of course going into the Australian Royal Commission and some of the lawsuits that prove that, yes, the witnesses do hide pedophiles, and they paid millions of dollars because of it. Then I asked, is it true that Jehovah's Witnesses mentally condition their members? And of course, the AI that was a faithful Jehovah's Witness says no, and it gives his answer as you would expect a Jehovah's Witness to give. Go ahead and pause if you want to read some of it. And the free-thinking AI bot goes into a more detailed, factually based answer, talking about the information control, the emotional control, the behavior control, the thought control, the loaded language, and everything else that we're going to go into today. Then I asked the big question, are Jehovah's Witnesses really the true religion? And of course, the AI bot that was a loyal Jehovah's Witness answered in the way that you would expect a loyal Jehovah's Witness to answer, saying that yes, they firmly believe that they are the true religion. And then they go through different scriptures that Jehovah's Witnesses often use as a way to try to prove that they are the true religion. When I asked the open-minded AI bot, it goes through, again, a factually based answer. And this is a deep question that no AI can know. And so it goes through the false prophecies and the changing doctrines, the authoritarian control, isolation from others, and goes through many other things that show that the Jehovah's Witnesses have some serious issues and probably would not be the true religion. So again, I encourage you, do that experiment yourself. It's free of charge. Of course, no AI is as powerful as the human brain, but you can still get a sense of the power and influence of mental conditioning. Train one AI bot to be a loyal Jehovah's Witness or any other religion. Leave the other one open. Then ask them a series of questions and see what comes up. See how the loyal one answers. See how the answers that it gives has to fit into this box, whereas the other one has full freedom of information. And that leads us right into the second pillar. So the second pillar of high control groups is the I pillar. I standing for information control. The Encyclopedia of Social Psychology says information control refers to the deliberate restriction, manipulation, or censorship of information to limit a person's ability to make informed, independent decisions. So once again, let's get into the true or false on this. And let me just say, for all these questions, we're just saying the group, because many of these things go far beyond the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's important that you can apply these questions to any group that you're considering joining, religious or non-religious. So number one, true or false? The group discourages or forbids members from reading materials, watching videos, or listening to podcasts that question or critique the group. Number two, the group claims that only its approved publications or leaders can be trusted to provide accurate spiritual or moral guidance. Number three, the group encourages members to report others who consume or especially share outside material that presents other perspectives. Number four, the group discourages personal research or independent study that is not based on its own literature or teachings. Number five, the group minimizes or ridicules academic research or expert opinions that contradict its teachings. Number six, the group has redefined the term truth to mean only teachings approved by its leadership. And lastly, the group regularly warns against and strictly forbids speaking to former members, especially those that speak critically of the group. When it comes to the Jehovah's Witnesses, once again, if you are an honest Jehovah's Witness, in one way or another, you would have to answer true to every single one of these questions. If you're a Jehovah's Witness and you have very strong interest in the Revelation book, you really want to understand it. And that's such a abstract, very far out book of the Bible, right? So you go to your elder and you say, hey, I really want to understand this deeper. And he says, well, you know, the Watchtower has put out this and this publication on it. You know, perhaps that old Revelation book's a little bit outdated, but go ahead and check that out. So you go ahead and check it out and you read through it, and it doesn't quite satisfy your level of curiosity and understanding. But as a faithful Jehovah's Witness, your search would have to stop there, because the only place that you're supposed to get information related to spirituality and the Bible is from the Watchtower. If you want to learn how to fix your car or put in a new sink, by all means, go ahead and get your information from anywhere. But when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to how to live a clean moral life, you can only source your information from the Watchtower. Now, let's say you went beyond that, right? Let's say you went on Amazon and you looked up Revelation and you saw this long list of all these books written by Bible scholars and this and that all think that they have a unique perspective and understanding of Revelation, all right? And you go through and you buy some of them because you want to get their perspective. You want a true 360-degree understanding, meaning many different perspectives of this book. Now, if you went ahead and did that, and you had other Jehovah's Witnesses come to your house, you would not be able to have those books out. You would have to go through your house and hide those books. If you have close Jehovah's Witness friends, and let's say you found something in those books that was really, really exciting, you know, something that really helped you to understand a scripture that you had just never been able to understand, right? You would not be able to go to your Jehovah's Witness friends and tell them about what you learned. Not without fear that those same friends will go to their elders and say, hey, so-and-so is reading books from false religion and talking to other people about it. You would find yourself in the back room, for sure. That's information control. And then think of how Jehovah's Witnesses handle articles that come from the media. If the article speaks highly of Jehovah's Witnesses, then that article is viewed as a blessing from Jehovah, and Jehovah is guiding that journalist to bring more people into his organization. But if that same exact journalist, same media company, puts out an article that speaks negatively or speaks critically of Jehovah's Witnesses, all of a sudden, that source of information is being ruled by Satan. That article was being guided by Satan to draw people away from the Jehovah's Witnesses. And of course, if the article speaks highly of Jehovah's Witnesses, by all means, share it around with your brothers and sisters, right? When you're out in service, maybe even share it with people that are interested. But if the article speaks negatively, you had better not even tell anybody that you read it. I mean, as a Jehovah's Witness, your entire perspective of the Bible, your entire perspective of the things unseen, have to come from one source. And of course, when it comes to apostates, people that have left the Jehovah's Witnesses, you are to have no association with them whatsoever. The top thing that they say, again, is apostates are liars. When it comes to apostates being liars, I mean, I understand. Not that long ago, I believed the exact same thing. That kind of falls into this pillar. It falls into that first pillar of mental conditioning, and it falls into the third pillar that we haven't got into yet. But if you really think deeper about that belief that all apostates are liars, it just makes no sense. Okay, I can't speak for everybody, but I can definitely speak for myself. I have definitely moved on. I mean, believe it or not, I know there's trolls out there who say, oh, you just need to move on, but I really have moved on from the Jehovah's Witnesses. All right? I do this because this is the way that I was helped. And I think it's very important to help spread awareness about this stuff. To sit down here and record one of these videos, it can take anywhere from an hour to sometimes a few hours, depending on how long the video is. Then it takes quite a bit of time, usually several hours, to edit the video. And then, of course, uploading and everything else that goes along with that. So each of these videos is a several-hour commitment. Why would I do that just to lie? I do not have a shortage of things to occupy my time. I have a job. I have my own business. I'm a father, new father, right? So I have a little baby. It requires a lot of attention, a lot of time, right? I have my own hobbies, you know? I live in the Pacific Northwest, so there's all sorts of cool adventures and stuff to go on when it's sunny enough. And when it's not sunny out, I mean, I've got the PlayStation 5, got the Xbox. By the time this video comes out, probably have the Nintendo Switch 2. In fact, that'd be pretty awesome to do a Mario Kart World EXJW tournament. See how you guys do. So really, I am not lacking for ways to use my time. And I have a lot of important things that require my time. So for me to sit here and do this, it would not be worth it if I was just lying. It just wouldn't be worth it. I just don't get anything out of it. All right, the Jehovah's Witnesses are a very small community. And so therefore the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are even smaller. So this is not some channel that I'm thinking I'm going to get millions and millions of subscribers and make a living off of. No. So this idea that all apostates are liars, it just makes no sense when you really think about it. Because honestly, there's just not enough to gain from lying. There's not enough. There's no reason to. So there has to be a more important reason that there are so many people coming together, sitting in front of their cameras and doing this. And there has to be a reason why there's so many of us XJWs across the globe, different cultures, different ages, all went to different congregations in different areas, and we're all saying the same thing. But before we move on to the next pillar, I just want to give you one real life example of a difference between a high control religious group and a non-high control religious group, all right? So, of course, within the Jehovah's Witnesses, you are never to go into another church. You're never to read other literature that is based on spirituality or the Bible or God. Anything that within that whole realm should only exclusively come from the Watchtower, right? But here's how things are on the outside. So, a real story here. My mom, years ago, started to go to one of the churches here in the area. Took her a long time to even want to step foot in another religious building after leaving the Witnesses. But she wanted that sense of community, so she found another church, and now she goes there. And she's been going there for a while and made friends. And one of the friends that she has been a very, very, very long time member of that church. So here's what happened. So here's what happened with this lady. She one day decides that she wants to study the Muslim faith. Not necessarily convert to it, but she wants to go to their meetings and read their books and really understand it. Now, when she makes this decision, her marriage does not get broken up. Her friendships within the church are not taken away from her. She's not shunned or disfellowshipped. She's not brought into a judicial committee. None of this stuff happens, okay? She is free to go ahead and do that. Maintains all of her friendships. Now, here's where things get really crazy, all right? After a while has passed, she's been attending these Muslim meetings. She is then invited back to that church. Not so they could try to convert her and convince her not to leave. No, not for that purpose at all. She's invited back there on a Sunday during what would usually be their public meeting or public talk, I guess you could call it. And instead of having their public talk or whatever they call it in that church, this lady is invited to the front to talk about everything that she has learned from the Muslim faith and their differences and how Jesus still fits into that religion as well. And all of these people are now able to learn about this other religion and this other perspective that they would normally not have been exposed to. Now, that is what it looks like to have full freedom of information. The church is not scared that presenting another perspective will cause everybody to leave. The church trusts their members. And see, that's something that doesn't exist in these high control groups is trust. The Jehovah's Witness leaders do not trust their members. Otherwise, there would be no need to mentally condition them. There would be no need to control their information. So we have the M pillar. We have the I pillar. The last pillar is the A pillar, A standing for authority. Now, in the context of a high control group, authority means a leader or group of leaders who have raised themselves to a status that is beyond questioning and requires absolute obedience. So once again, let's get into the true or false questions here. Number one, true or false? The group requires absolute obedience, regardless of understanding. Number two, the group's authority is framed as divine or sacred, making disagreement seem like a rebellion against God rather than healthy critical thinking. Number three, the group equates loyalty to the leadership with loyalty to God. Number four, the group expects members to defend leadership decisions even when they don't fully understand or agree with them. Number five, the group discourages public disagreement or debate about its decisions or teachings. Number six, The group encourages parents, spouses, or children to prioritize group loyalty over family bonds. Number 7, the group praises members who sacrifice personal desires or well-being in order to follow leadership directives. And the last one, the group enforces disciplinary action, such as shunning, for members who question, disobey leadership, or leave the group. And so once again, if you are an honest Jehovah's Witness, in one way or another, you would have to answer true to every single one of these. The governing body, Watchtower leadership, have promoted themselves to a position that is beyond question. If you do question them, you're instantly in trouble. On several occasions, they have put in their literature that at some point in time, they may give a direction that may be beyond human understanding, but you are to follow that direction without question. I mean, there are various things that they have said over the years that have pushed themselves more and more into a position of unquestionable authority. Of course, without a doubt, obedience to the organization is seen as obedience to God. If you question the organization, you are questioning Jehovah. If the organization gives direction, that is seen as direction from Jehovah. And again, these are not things that are unique to the Jehovah's Witnesses. There are many high control groups that have placed themselves in a position where the leaderships, in one way or another, speak directly for God. When it comes to discipline, the Jehovah's Witnesses literally have the power to split up your family. I mean, there are grandparents that don't know their grandkids. There are fathers that did not walk their daughter down the aisle when she got married, simply because someone decided to leave the organization. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses have changed their shunning policy when it comes to people that are disfellowshipped or removed from the organization. But even that has this sense of authoritative power. You can only speak to those people if they are coming to meetings, if they are living by the standards of the organization, and only for the purpose of encouraging them to keep doing that. In plain English, that's psychological manipulation. We're only allowed to speak to you when you're doing what we want you to do. How is that loving? And of course, if the person decides to completely leave the organization, the shunning rule still applies. It's complete cutoff. In particular, if they decide to speak out against the organization, then really completely cut off. You don't exist. This keeps members in line. And of course, even just being reproved, having your name announced from the platform in front of the entire congregation. I mean, that is enough on its own to put people in a position where they are scared. Now, of course, in a normal, non-high control group religion, that level of authority does not exist. Nobody is above questioning. Nobody is going to get in trouble for saying you don't like the pastor, you don't like, whatever the position is in that church or that group. You're not going to get in trouble for it. Now, when it comes to authority, think about this. One of the highest positions of authority in the world is the United States president, right? He literally has at all times the ability to launch any number of nuclear missiles at whomever, causing World War III and then very shortly after the end of the world, the real end of the world. So he has an insane level of power, an insane level of authority, and yet you are allowed to disagree with him. You're allowed to not like him. You can go up to a police officer right now and be like, man, I really can't stand the president. And they would probably just laugh at you, or maybe they might agree with you. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is you get into some heated political debate, but you're not going to be kicked out of the country, though. Versus the Jehovah's Witnesses and these other high control groups, if you verbally stress your negative opinions about their leadership, you will find yourself kicked out. You will find yourself being called an apostate. Everybody is going to be taken away from you. And compared to the president, the governing body does not have nearly as much power. But due to these three pillars, especially the mental conditioning, the information control, they have ultimate authority. They have the most power. So those are the three pillars of a high control group: mental conditioning, information control, authority, MIA. Because that's what happens to the real you. That's what happens to your critically thinking mind when you join one of these groups. It goes MIA. And of course, all three of these pillars all support one another, right? If you have the information control and you have the authority, but you're missing that mental conditioning, eventually those people are going to wise up and they're going to leave. If you've got the mental conditioning and you've got the authority, but you're missing the information control, eventually those people are going to come upon information that has a different perspective or speaks critically of the group. You're going to lose power. So you really need all three of these pillars supporting one another to have a high control group. And when all three of them are supporting one another, it really takes away people's ability to critically think. It takes away people's ability to have another perspective. It takes away people's ability to really be authentic. And in many ways, it takes away one aspect of what makes you human. Because part of what makes us human is our ability to reason, our ability to think critically, our ability to look at things from many different perspectives, to come to our own understanding. But in these high control groups, you don't have the freedom to do any of those things. So you are losing that little aspect of what makes you human. And then, of course, there's all these psychological and mental and sometimes even physical dangers that go along with these groups. And that's just way too much to get into in this video. But really the important thing is that you understand and you keep an eye out for those three pillars. For those of you that are just waking up from the Jehovah's Witnesses, again, keep those true or false questions in mind. The next time you go to a meeting, assembly, convention, next time you're watching JW broadcast, go through that list. The question is, can you be aware enough to recognize where they are true? And then can you be aware enough to recognize how those things have an impact on you and your ability to have freedom of thought? Because if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you believe that your religion is based on the Bible, well, guess what? Nowhere in the Bible does it say that any man-made organization is beyond question. That's just not in there. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that leaving an organization is the equivalent to leaving Jehovah. Nowhere in the Bible does it call any organization the truth. In fact, the only place that it really uses the truth is when Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, right? Now, for those of you that have been out for a while, again, keep those three pillars in mind. Any group that you're thinking about joining, religious or non, I mean, you can find those three pillars in political groups, non-religious groups, clubs, and in a lot of cases, you can find those three pillars in very controlling, toxic relationships. Be very, very aware of any group that wants to take away your freedom of thought, control your information, become the sole highest authority in your life, and take away your ability to think critically. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you all, and hopefully you have a better understanding of what a high control group actually is, and all the ways that Jehovah's Witnesses definitely do qualify as a high control group. So with that, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.